Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Today I am going to be making a bamboo themed soap. I'm using both of these soap molds. I'll need a 6-cavity soap mold and I'm using my 1-pound mold just because this is sort of a test batch. So I wanted to see how this overall design would turn out. I'm using New Leaf for the bamboo and also using Enchantment to make the bamboo sticks or canes, whatever you want to call them. And then for the fragrance oil, I'm using bamboo water and white orchard fragrance oil. I'm also using the coconut milk soap base from Crafter's Choice. And if you're curious about the fragrance oil, it does smell really good. It's very fruity and kind of floral fragrance. I would highly recommend it. I think it probably would hold up well in cold process soap. I haven't really looked at it, but it worked really great in this melt and pour tutorial. So the first part that I'm doing here is I just kind of melted down a couple ounces of the white base and I'm adding in that New Leaf mica, and I'm just making sure it's really well incorporated. And then once everything is mixed in, I'm just pouring maybe about an ounce or so into the bottom of these cavity molds so it just barely fills the bottom of it. And sometimes you could still even almost see like the pink of the soap mold still left. Then I would let those sit, and while those were sitting up, I went ahead and I melted down some more base. And this is going to be kind of like the dirt layer or something. I don't know if bamboo grows in dirt. I feel like it grows in like a swampy water, but you tell me because I have no idea. So anyways, I just colored that till it got to the color that I liked. And then once the temperature on this started cooling down a little bit, I went ahead and added some coffee grounds just to give the soap like an extra texture to it. Sorry I can't talk, guys. I hope that you don't judge me too much. As you can see, the soap was getting to a consistency where some of the coffee grounds were starting to stay suspended, so I felt comfortable enough to go ahead and pour that into the mold. Now, while I waited for that first layer to harden up in the mold, I went ahead and went back to the little things that I was telling you about earlier. After these had set up for about, I would say 15 to 25 minutes, they were ready to take out of the soap mold. And then I would just start kind of like twisting them up like as shown, really taking my time, making sure not to crack it. And like the thinner you pour these little, I don't know what you call them, little bamboos, the easier it was to kind of like play with them and mold them. You just had to be careful to make sure that the soap was all the way dry, I guess, and hardened, because sometimes I tried to pull them out a little bit too soon and then it was like a gooey mess, so I just kind of like left it in there or remelted it down depending on the actual soap itself. So again, while those were waiting, I started to notice that the other soap was starting to set up in the cavity, so I went ahead and scooped out a little bit of activated charcoal into a shallow dish. And I'm going to use a little bit of rubbing alcohol and a paintbrush, and I'm kind of just pressing with the paintbrush lightly to tell that that layer of soap is getting like a thick skin on it. You want to probably use a wide paintbrush. I have another tutorial on my channel about how to paint like mica lines and the best way to do that. So if you're not familiar with it or it's something you want to do in your melt and pour soap design, you can look for that on my channel. Basically, we're just going to add a little bit of rubbing alcohol and then we're going to gently paint the top of that. Once I felt everything was painted really nice, I went ahead and cleaned up any of the excess activated charcoal off the sides of the soap mold. And then I tried to use the spatula to sort of break the fall so that it wouldn't disrupt the activated charcoal so much. It didn't seem to really bother it. If you pour at much cooler temps, it shouldn't move it at all. And I think this spritzing the rubbing alcohol kind of made it mix in a little bit more, but that's okay. It still turned out the way I wanted it. So for the next part, once all the little bamboos were made and I was ready to let that layer sort of set up a little bit, I went ahead and took some of that other mica and put it into just a little Ziploc baggie, and then I'm going to throw my little bamboo sticks in there and just give them a good shake so that the outside of them gets coated, and it just gives it like a little bit of an elevated look on your soap when you're done with it. Now I'm ready for the final part. I did go ahead and score that down a little bit and spritz with rubbing alcohol, then pour just a tiny, tiny bit to cover that little layer. And then I started stacking the little bamboos up as best as I could into the soap mold. I did kind of want them to run close together, but I didn't necessarily want them like exactly in straight rows because I wanted to get like a really cool effect when it cut. Or as you were using the bar of soap, like it would be mimicking like the inside of a bamboo cane or something. Overall, the end result came out just the way I wanted. And once all of those were fit pretty snug into the mold, I just went ahead and melted down some more soap base. And I sort of kind of moved them around as I was pouring the liquid soap base in. You don't want to keep the base too hot when you're pouring it in because one, it will melt the bamboo, and two, that mica that you poured or shook on the little bamboo canes can come off if it's too hot, and then it starts to kind of like disperse into the white base. So I went ahead and let that sit for about 3 hours, and then I popped it out of the mold and gave it a good cut. It does sort of look like bamboo or grass. Overall, this was just a really fun design. It was something different. There might be some things that I might try different next time to see if I can get a little bit better or more clean look. But I thought this was an interesting soap tutorial. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.